Hello everyone. Diep is reunited with Jame. She's so surprised because after waiting so long, she's finally seeing him again. The news of his death was heartbreaking, leaving her speechless because all she needs right now is a hug from him. How will this story unfold? Let's find out today, in a small countryside home where the wind hums softly against the wooden walls. A little girl's voice rises like a fragile thread of longing. Uncle James, why won't you wash my hair? NHI, with her round eyes and innocent gaze, looks up at the man she loves more than just an uncle. James tries to smile, saying he's not good at it, that only Auntie Diep can wash her hair properly. But behind that simple excuse lies a heaviness he can't quite hide, a weight deeper than the child could ever understand. Then NHI wraps her arms around him, holding him as if she fears he might disappear again. Please don't leave me anymore, please? James freezes. He knows he cannot make promises his life won't allow him to keep. His work drags him from place to place. His responsibilities pile up like storms he must face alone. So he speaks gently, carefully. I'll try. I'll visit you more often. I promise. Nie's love is simple and pure. She misses him when she plays at preschool, when she eats, when she sleeps. She says Auntie Diep cries because she misses him too. James apologizes again, hiding behind the truth he thinks will protect them. He's busy. He travels constantly. He can't always be there. Still, he promises to reorganize his time, to come every 2 or 3 days. And once his business slows, to stay by their side every day. He asks them to be patient, even though he knows patience is the most fragile thing in love. That night, as James cooks a humble meal, fried rice with egg, NHI beams as if the world lights up in front of her. She runs around him, offering water, urging him to eat more, praising him as if he were the best chef she ever met. For a moment, James forgets the turmoil inside him. A moment is all it takes to remember what warmth feels like. Then NHI shyly hands him a small clay figure. I made this for you, she says proudly. It looks like you. The figure is chubby and endearing, imperfect but full of love. James gently accepts it. To a child, missing someone means creating something to hold in their place. He feels that truth settles silently into his heart. Later, when NHI has fallen asleep, James returns home late from work, later than usual because the trucks arrived early and the warehouse demanded his presence. He's exhausted, weighed down by shipments, inventory, and stress, but none of that is as heavy as the gaze waiting for him. Diep stands there with hurt in her eyes. Why didn't you tell me you came back to Vietnam a week ago? Her voice trembles, not with anger, but the kind of fear people feel when they've been left alone too long. James stumbles over his explanations, saying he had reasons, complications he couldn't share, but every reason sounds smaller than the silence he chose instead of honesty. Diep shakes her head, the sadness rising in her voice. You didn't want me to worry? But did you ever think your silence hurts me more? You promised I was family. You promised we would face things together. Then why do you disappear every time something happens? Her tears are quiet, but her words cut deep. James apologizes, over and over, but apologies do not stitch together the days she spent afraid. Waiting, imagining the worst, she tells him to go home, saying staying longer will only make things harder. Yet, even as she turns away, deep inside she whispers a truth she cannot speak aloud. As long as he comes back safe, she will continue to wait. The next day, Diep stands in her small workplace, surrounded by the weight of goods and responsibilities she now handles with surprising strength. She remembers her past, a poor, shy, fragile girl who cried easily and blamed fate for everything. But then James entered her life. He taught her to read and write, gave her books about business, taught her how to think, how to breathe through chaos, how to believe she could be more. Without him, she might still be that frightened girl. But now she is different, steadier, braver, a small businesswoman with fire in her heart. She lifts a glass of water and whispers to herself, James is everything to me, but I promise to let him go. So please, let him return safely. Still, she knows love like theirs never disappears. It only hides beneath unspoken words and unshared burdens. And so, with quiet determination, she decides to meet James's father the next day, to seek the truth. To protect James in her own way. And perhaps to reclaim the justice they're fragile. silent love deserves. Their story is one of two hearts that love deeply but speak softly. Two souls that fear hurting each other so much that they end up hurting themselves. It is a love full of longing, promises, misunderstandings, and quiet hopes. Jame and Diep, two silent hearts. Bound by affection, separated by fear, yet always reaching for one another in the spaces between words.